keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places that God where we may be. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. That is passing through your town. And don't you wanna ride this train? You ought to wanna ride this train. For this train is surely heaven bound. I was standing at the station when I heard.
And the Senate had passed it previously, was that Wednesday or Tuesday? Wednesday. It's pretty quick. And almost all of the congressmen voted in favor of it, and the entire Senate voted for it. And President Biden didn't make us wait. He signed it into law, and immediately it took effect. So when we look around us, we know that a lot of people do not have the same perspective on Juneteenth. I know that I heard a lot of negative comments, and we've been through a lot over the years, but we're 150 years away from that historic day when Gordon Granger rode into Galveston to tell the slaves, the enslaved Africans, descendants who had been working in Texas, and they had been working for no pay. But he let them know that they were free. He let them know about the Emancipation Proclamation. One of the things that I am always curious about is how Juneteenth started as a celebration of freedom and died off. Well, we know that in 1984, Ron Myers is one of the people who picked it up with the National Juneteenth Service Foundation that I'm a member of. Now, one of the things that the Service Foundation did, if you look over here, they went to Washington, D.C. every year. Congressman, I don't know how many times you've seen them, how many phone calls you got, but I know that every single year that you've been in Congress, you had someone trying to get this legislation passed. And I know that they came up with a flag later. We have a flag in every country that is significant to us. And our Old Glory is significant to us. We know that we value the freedom that we received in 1776. Well, just as we value that freedom, so did those people who have been working and toiling all of those years, just as they wanted to be free and had run away and done all kinds of things trying to get their freedom, going the Underground Railroad and everything else. We and Mr. Hay, who was in another organization, came up with the idea, and they wanted us to still have those colors because we were left out of the Declaration of Independence. We were not given our freedom. Specifically, we were not given our freedom. And so we had to address that. And when they came up with this flag, they didn't want to go with the color that Marcus Garvey had introduced some years before. That was from the diaspora. We wanted to go with something that meant that we too were Americans. We're citizens of America. So this flag signifies that. And that star that you see, it's all about the state of Texas, and then it has this little star around it, that nova. That nova is all about a new day, a new life, new meaning. James McCoy and Jara just sung.
He was a large figure in trying to be a man and a person of peace. He was a person who actually was a leader and tried to lead to the very best. He was gunned down. He was killed because of the leadership that he offered. We've seen many of that period of time. President Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and others. Because of violence, because of disagreement, we've seen in the last year and a half, terrible things in our country. I want you to know that I believe that we can and will make it because the African American community has a resilience and faith in God. We have a resilience and faith in our churches, in our young people. We have a resilience and a faith that we can reach across whatever divide that there is and come together. And today is an example where this country and yesterday can gather together with commonality. And that commonality should be we need to look at each other in respect and admiration. And it is my hope that this community here in Waco will know that it is possible. It is possible because there are men and women of faith. Walter Abercrombie I only met today for the first time, but I bet he never wanted to be anybody different. He wanted to be who he is and what he is. And he was a leader for so many years on the football field, but he's a leader now in this community. Betty, a leader in this community. So I just want us to, if we can, focus on trying to speak properly with each other, trying to listen to each other, trying to make sense. But I think the greatest part of it is respect for each other. And respect that we need to make sure.
Some of them are emancipated, but definitely free, emancipated, and the 2.5 years ago, which was very true and very serious. But even that didn't free all the slaves in the northern states, or the border states, and it took the 13th Amendment to the Constitution several months later to actually create that freedom. And it made America the first, one of the first nations in the world to do away with slavery, which is really, really something to celebrate. There's many nations today, China is doing.
Like, we are getting into the light. And so it is my privilege today to stand before you as representative of this district, of this great city, and issue a proclamation to you today that reads, I, Baylor Meek, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, hereby proclaim June 19, 2021 as Juneteenth National Independence Day in the city of Waco, and I urge the people of Waco to join with City Council, city staff, and me in recognizing June 19 as Juneteenth National Independence Day. Juneteenth serves as a significant day of remembrance and acknowledgement of the history, culture, strength, perseverance, and achievement of the past, the present, and future generations of the African American community. On June 17, 2021, after almost 150 years, the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act was signed into law, and today we join with communities across this nation in recognizing the organizations, groups, and individuals who worked through the years to make Juneteenth an official national celebration. Juneteenth commemorates June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, 2 months after the end of the Civil War, and over 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the enslaved in the southern states. Juneteenth is the oldest public celebration of the end of slavery and a state holiday in Texas for more than 40 years. As we join today in celebration in the midst of this now national holiday, let us recall that at the arrival of the more than 2,000 troops on Juneteenth, U.S. General Gordon Granger read General Order 3 in Texas, saying, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of these United States, all slaves are free. In testimony whereof witnessed by my hand and the seal of the city of Waco, this 19th day of June, AD 2021, it is signed by Mayor Billy Meek, Mayor Pro Tem Hector Sabito, Councilmember Kelly Palmer, Councilmember Josh Borderoux, Councilmember Jim Holmes, and myself, Councilmember Andre Bearfield. Thank you so much for everything that you have done, do, and will do for our community, for our people, for our future, telling stories, standing in the gap, protecting us, educating us.
We have celebrated it as a state holiday, and it is just 24 hours now, as our councilwoman said, that we're celebrating it as a federal holiday. I want to, as I look out across this room, and as we're standing in an inaugural event, I wanted to share something with you all. And I hate it, but my phone does what it wants to do. Furthered America's ideals of liberty and freedom. There in the audience was a sculptor, Frederick Augustine Bartholdi. I'm tearing his names up, but I want y'all to get the essence of the story. He was in attendance for Lavallee's proclamation, and being of like mind with Lavallee's reasoning, he began to conceptualize the colossal structure that soon would be known as the Statue of Liberty. Bartholdi's design encompassed much symbolism. Her crown, look back, we have the Statue of Liberty here. Her crown representing life with its spirals inscribed with July 4th, 1776 in Roman numerals, noting American independence. But what few people have stopped and understood and taken in the significance is that at the feet of the statue, Bartholdi placed a broken shackle and chains at the statue's foot. And that was in commemoration of the abolition of slavery. And I say that because the sharing of the celebration of freedom for the African American has always been, from its conception, a shared story across cultures. I'm going to say it again, it has always been a shared celebration across cultures, the emancipation of the African American. And so, I would like to say to the Baylor Club, I would like to say to Waco and McLennan County, I want to thank us for understanding the significance of a shared celebration across cultures of the emancipation of the African in America, and for participating in this teachable moment.
Awarded all of the slaves that were in that first, what I talked about, number of states, 19. He declared them officially slaves to be freed. And then in 1863, he put it on paper and let it be known. And then in 1865, it became freedom for all states, and thus became the addition of the 13th Amendment of the abandonment of slavery. Okay? So I think we have something that is very, very unique here. And I am so glad to be associated in the same area. Don't have personal knowledge of her, but I'm sure most of you have heard by now by the name of a lady named Miss Oakley. She's out of Fort Worth, Texas. And while I'm in the Dallas area, of course, that's the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Proud to be a part of that. She started on her escapade of getting this into law really about 40 years ago. But she really took it on the real get-up-and-go horse, like when she was 89 years old. So isn't that something to be at 89 years old to walk 2 miles every year in recognition of Juneteenth? Isn't that something? So I think we have something special. And she said she would just pray every day that the Lord would not take her until she could get this into law. And on the 15th day of June, it came to fruition. Our President Joseph Biden signed into law, recognizing Juneteenth as the 12th federal holiday. I'm so proud of her. And so I'm going to leave you. I have a lot more I can say, but I'm going to talk.
That's Frederick Douglass. See right here?
He was a black abolitionist, and this is
President Lincoln. Okay. So while Lincoln and the northern states, they wanted to end slavery, the agricultural southern states, they relied on slavery because of economic reasons. They wanted the slaves on the plantations, picking cotton, and tending after all those things. So after President Lincoln was elected, some of the southern states, they formed what's called the Confederate States and tried to leave the Union. And that's what we were called at one time, the Union. So this succession helped bring about the Civil War. Sorry. Yeah, he lives in south of Portugal in Europe. Yeah. And so, yeah, and you want to know how I met him? Like how I found him to be able to illustrate my book? Google. Google, I found him on Google. He's never even been to the United States. Yeah, and so, did you like the book? Yes. Okay, so I have 2 questions. Number 1, the first one is, who do you think won the fight? Do you think it was thunder, lightning, or someone else? Who do you think won the fight? You think someone else? Who do you think? Who do you think? Come on. You think lightning? What do you think? Who do you think won the fight?
treading